120 minutes. The semi-final proved to be a stint of character for the Lionesses, who come under pressure from Morocco into opening half. The host created several chances and registered multiple shots on target, but Cameroon's defense remained resolute. So you see the photo there of Vihina, who has been a very prolific goalkeeper for the Lionesses. Then we come down at the right-hand side, we get the PCC Mons former moderator, Reverend Dr. Asana in Boya. PCC Mons former moderator, Reverend Dr. Asana in Boya. We know that his funeral is ongoing now in the Northwest region, but it was held here last Wednesday, and so it continues today, and his burial will take place in his village there in the Northwest region. Then we continue with down right hand, it says issues at stake, issues at stake. Spectre of presidential vacuum in Cameroon, spectre of presidential vacuum in Cameroon. The papers continue to talk about the absence of the president of the republic. So if you want to get this information, you get to the Post newspaper, you get all this information there. Let us get to the next paper, dear viewers, which is the Lasha King Infos. The Lasha King Infos. The Lasha King Infos. Let's get at the top there. We'll begin with what we have at the top there. It says, penalty queen Bihina fires Cameroon into WAFCON finals. Penalty queen Bihina fires Cameroon into WAFCON finals. And what do they say there? It says, Cameroon have reached the Women's African Cup of Nations final, but the story of their extraordinary run is increasingly being written in the gloves of Mikaeli Ines Bihini. That is, the 22-year-old goalkeeper was the heroine once again as the indomitable Lionesses eliminated host Morocco in a dramatic semi-final penalty shootout on Wednesday, August 12. You have that on page 9 of Lasha King Info newspaper. So if you want to get, you go to page 9 of that paper. Then we'll go to the top right hand. It says, Limbe City Council marks landslide risks homes for demolition after deadly flood. Limbe City Council marks landslide risk homes for demolition after deadly floods. What do they say there? It says, the Limbe City Council has begun marking houses and other structures located in landslide-prone areas for demolition, following deadly flash floods and landslides that struck the coastal city last week. The exercise began on Wednesday, August 12, with municipal technical teams visiting Mokeba farms in Bende Quarter, where 3 members of the same family were killed when a landslide destroyed their home on August 5. You go to page 4 of Lasha King's Info. On page 4, you get the details of the information as far as that landslide in Limbe is concerned and the action taken by the Limbe City Council. Let us continue at the left top. It says, Limbe floods. Atanganji brings presidential couples compassion to victims. Atanganji brings presidential couples compassion to victims. You know that Minister Atanganji, Minister of Territorial Administration, had to visit Limbe yesterday, and this is what he said. Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, has visited Limbe, southwest region, to assess the aftermath of the deadly flash floods and landslides that struck the coastal city on August 5, 2026. The minister arrived in Limbe on Thursday, August 13th, as part of government efforts to evaluate the impact of the disaster, strengthen the civil protection response, and provide assistance to affected populations. At the Limbe Regional Hospital, Atanganji visited survivors undergoing treatment and conveyed the message of compassion and solidarity from President Paul Biya and First Lady Chantal Biya. So if you want to get these, go and get the paper, the newspaper, Lasha King's Infos, and you'll get that information on page 2 of Lasha King's Infos. And we continue here. It says, Rear Admiral Ade Quenti Hillary takes command of Cameroon State Joint Military Region. Rear Admiral Ade Quenti Hillary takes command of Cameroon State Joint Military Region. You know, he was installed recently. You know, recently we had the transfers and appointments of generals and other military barons in Cameroon. So it says, Rear Admiral Ade Quenti Hillary has officially assumed command of Cameroon State Joint Military Region following a formal handover ceremony in Garoua, North Region. The ceremony took place on Thursday, August 13th, that is yesterday, 2026, at the military parade ground, and was presided over by Joseph Betty Asomo, Minister Delegate at the Presidency in charge of Defense. So those new appointed and transferred generals have started taking power. So they started yesterday. And so we saw that of Rear Admiral Ade Quenti Hillary, who took over there in the northern region. So at this time, viewers, let us go to the next paper, which is the municipal updates. The municipal updates, it says, at the top right hand there, it says, at International Handicraft Fair, Disability Inclusion Promoter Nongning Amel wins prize. You go to page 5, you know about the handicraft promotion that took place, and those who were privileged to win some awards there. You get the details. Then let's get to the main headlines of municipal updates. It says, Limbe, Minat boss assesses landslide, flood situation, consoles victims. Minat boss assesses landslides, flood situation, consoles victims. It is found on page 4 if you want to read what happened, because the Minister of Territorial Administration visited Limbe yesterday, Thursday the 13th. And so if you want to get the details of what happened, you go to municipal updates on page 4. You will get the details there. The images are very clear there. You see the Minister of Territorial Administration, the city mayor of Limbe, the SDO of Fako, the governor, and the rest. You get the details there. Let us come down by the left. It says, down left, it says, democratizing CEMAC security market. Democratizing CEMAC security market. Access Bank launches digital access invest platform. So this is, they are trying to link the CEMAC areas as far as business is concerned. Therefore, let us leave and go to the Observer. The Observer newspaper. The Observer newspaper, it says, the main headline there, it is an editorial. The editorial says, President Paul Biya answers the people's call, return home. President Paul Biya answers the people's call, return home. That's the editorial from the Observer. So please, you get the papers and get the details of these. They are telling us President Paul Biya have answered the people's call to return home. What do they really mean there? Because we know he hasn't come. So get the papers and get what the observers mean by that. Let us go below another main headline there. Say, why Edison Frunzi continues to shine at national and international level. Edison Frunzi, you know, is the son of late Nijon Frundi, the former chairman of the SDF. So why, he has been, for the past 2-3 months, he has been consistent on the news as far as the prince is concerned. He has always appeared. Let us see what it is. A businessman who refused to leave Northwest despite difficult security environments. That's one of the reasons they are saying that Edison Frundi continues to shine at a national and international level as a businessman. So since this crisis started, he has not left the Northwest region despite the insecurity that is ongoing in the Northwest region. The second point that is being given there, it says, he continues to employ the region's youth in diverse fields. So in his company, in his business, he keeps on employing youths in the various fields. The third reason that is given, he said, he has proven that a business can remain profitable while serving the community. That's one aspect that has been given. Then the last one given there, it says, Bamenda Tumer, Fon of Queen, Northwest Regional Assembly, commend Edison Frunzi for quality delivery on projects. That is what happened in the Northwest. And so with time, maybe because the question so many people are asking is that for the past 3 months, he has been very consistent on papers. Maybe what is coming in the days ahead, maybe some people are trying to forecast that Edison Frundi is coming to take the legacy of politics from his father, Nijon Frundi. Let us just look forward to see what comes up. Let's continue. It says, Atanganji visits Limbe flood victims, consoles family that lost 3. Atanganji visits Limbe flood victim, consoles family that lost 3. There you find the images there. Okay, International Youth Day. The International Youth Day was celebrated about 2 days ago. So it says, International Youth Day served advocates equal job opportunities for young people with disability. Every year in August, the International Youth Day is celebrated. So it was celebrated here also in Boya. Dear viewers, let us go to the next paper, which is the Guardian Post newspaper. The Guardian Post newspaper. Let us begin with the editorial before we come to the main headlines there. The editorial at the top right-hand side, it says, fight xenophobia, hate speech from top, not bottom. Fight xenophobia, hate speech from top, not bottom. Let us get what the paper is saying as far as that is concerned. It says, drawing from last year's deadly post-presidential elections violence triggered by alleged rigging, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism, Multiculturalism, NCPBM, is concerned about a repeated mayhem at the upcoming municipal and legislative polls slated for early next year. Historically manipulated elections are often partly associated with the hate speech and tribal xenophobic activities which persist in the country. At a meeting in Yaoundé on Wednesday to renew the collaboration platform between the NCPBM and some civil society organization, the Vice President of the NCPBM, Umaru Jika Saidu, said hate speech and xenophobia have always been major threats to peace, social cohesion, and national unity, especially during electoral periods. So you can see that editorial there. We know that the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism had a very crucial meeting to assess the activities and look forward. And so what they did is they are trying to start preparing and educating the public as far as the forthcoming election is concerned, so that they avoid xenophobia and hate speech. That is what is happening there. Okay, then let us now get to, still at the top there, it says the 2026 edition of the Cameroon Diaspora Youth Global Award ceremony will be organized tomorrow, August 15, in the United States of America, USA. That is tomorrow, Saturday, August 15. An initiative of the United Council for Youth Empowerment, UCYE International, in collaboration with the Cameroon Diaspora Youth Network, CDYN. The Cameroon Diaspora Youth Global Award is a major international gathering dedicated to recognizing outstanding Cameroonians and friends of Cameroon. So the youths are being promoted there. You can see the image of Fabian Lyonga, that is the Global Awards vision bearer there. He is the one really promoting that. So he is our own here. Let us get to the main headlines of the Guardian Post newspaper. But sorry, if you want to get the details, go to page 6 of the Guardian Post, and page 4 you get the xenophobic tendencies there. The main headlines there say Yaoundé International Business School, master students marvel jury with solution-driven business plans. So you get the Guardian newspaper to get details on that, but there are some 2 points there. It says project address gaps in agriculture, value chain addition, food processing, logistics, digital infrastructure, among others. Then it says the president of YIPS, Acho Godfrey Taku, announces incubation for students project to boost jobs, wealth creation. Please, you'll get the details from the Guardian Post there. If you go in there on page 12, where you go there, you get the details. It says Finance Minister, European Union Ambassador review development projects and funding. So the Finance Minister and the European Union Ambassador review development projects and funding. Go to page 2, you get the details, those who want to file in for it. Then there we see the goalkeeper of the Lionesses, personality of the week. So you know the Guardian Post usually come out with the personality of every week. So this time they have taken the goalkeeper of the Lionesses, Kyria Ines Mikaeli Bihina, who is the Lionesses goalkeeper. They say she is the personality of this week. That's what they have said there. Let us get now to ISCC. Let's go to Ideal Solution Community Communication, ISCC paper there. You get on the installation of Rear Admiral Hilary Adequenti. You know, that's the general there who took power yesterday, Thursday, as commander of the 3rd Joint Military Region there in the north. If you come down on the left, you see Garoua today. Justice Senator von Chaffa Isaac, the 11th, and his brother, the Lions of Akum and Mukuru, are in Garoua for the official installation of the newly appointed commander of the 3rd Joint Military Region, Rear Admiral Hilary Adequenti. So you see the photo there of the traditional rulers there who went for that installation. Let's get, the President of the Republic is the head of the armed forces. Now we are looking at the legal facts which has been given. There's a legal fact who has the power. Legal fact who has the power. So they are trying to bring some facts there to educate Cameroonians. It says, the President of the Republic is the head of the armed forces and has the constitutional power to appoint people to civil and military posts of the state. Constitution of Cameroon 1996. So they are leading us to the Constitution of Cameroon. You go and read the 1996 Constitution that gives the President of the Republic the power to appoint armed forces, transfer them, and even the civilians. Let's go to the next, which says, military appointments, promotions, and postings are made by presidential decrees. I repeat, military appointments, promotions, and postings are made by presidential decrees and through competent military authorities, not by traditional rulers. Ministry of Defense, Republic of Cameroon. Then the next one, it says, traditional rulers play a vital role in our culture and communities. They may attend, welcome, honor, and bless, but they do not have constitutional authority to appoint or install military personnel into official ranks of position. So that's what we have been told in that paper there. Now, let us get at the left-hand bottom there of that paper. It says, key distinction, official military installation, is state and military function. Authority comes from the president and the competent military institutions. This is the official installation. Then it comes now, it says, traditional recognition. Traditional leaders may participate, welcome, honor, or bless as part of our culture and tradition. This is cultural participation, not a military appointment. Come to the right hand there, it says, therefore, the correct understanding is Justice Senator von Chaffa Isaac and other traditional leaders attended the official installation ceremony of Rear Admiral Hilary Ade-Quincy as commander of Cameroon's 3rd Joint Military Region in Garoua. So, respect for our tradition and respect for the Constitution can coexist. When we understand the law, we strengthen our unity, peace, and national cohesion. In fact, this is a lot of information that has been given us. So many people usually misunderstand some of these things, so they have really educated us on this paper. I want to appreciate that with the people who have given us this. As we said, we'll also get to other papers that had passed since it's the end of week. Okay, let's get to The Voice. Let's get to The Voice newspaper. The Voice newspaper, let's begin at the top there before we come to the main headline. At the top there, it says, Bilingualism Commission joined forces to Bilingualism Commission and CSOs joined forces to stifle hate speech and xenophobia. You see their image there. So what do they say there? It says, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism has officially renewed its strategic partnership with civil society organizations to tackle xenophobia and hate speech across Cameroon. The formal signing ceremony took place at the Yaoundé Conference Center Wednesday, August 12, 2026. Presiding over the event on behalf of the National Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism President Peter Mafani Musonge, the Vice President of the Commission, Umaru Jika Saidu, emphasized that hate speech and tribal discrimination continue to pose serious threats to peace, particularly during sensitive political transitions. So they are trying to get, this commission is trying to get with civil society to make sure that they curb the aspect of hate speech and xenophobia. Let's come below to the main headline. See, Yaoundé International Business School, master students do jury with groundbreaking market-ready business plans. That is, you see the candidates there who were awarded. If you want to read detailedly, then you get the Voice newspaper. Let's come to below at the left-hand side. Or let's go to the right-hand side first. Say it. Edison Frundi clinches prestigious International Youth Awards in Nepal. That is still Edison Frundi that the papers are talking about. We go now to the left. It says, Michaele Bihina's goalkeeping masterclass sends Lionesses to WAFCON finals. So let's get what we are told there. It says, Michaele Bihina produced a goalkeeping performance for the ages to propel Cameroon into the 2026 Women African Cup of Nations WAFCON final, single-handedly eliminating host nation Morocco in a dramatic semi-final encounter. The 22-year-old shot stopper proved virtually imperishable under maximum pressure, with the match deadlocked late into extra time. Let us really get what the paper is saying there. It is not very clear. Then it says, during the subsequent penalty shootout in front of a renowned home crowd at the Moulay Hassan Stadium, Bihina delivered a staggering display of reflex and composure, denying spot kicks from Kenza Chabdu, Mariana, and Etia and Saki Nahumari. Her relentless heroic left the home fans in stunned silence. So if you want to get details on that, please, you go to page 11. You'll get the details as far as that is concerned. Let's come now to below right-hand side. You see U.S. State Department to close consulates in Cameroon, Japan, Indonesia, Grenada, and Canada. So if you want to get those details, it says the U.S. State Department has notified Congress of plans to close 5 foreign diplomatic missions across Asia, Africa, North America, and the Caribbean. Among the facilities targeted for shutdown is the Embassy branch office in Douala, Cameroon, alongside posts in Canada, Grenada, Japan, and Indonesia. The decision follows a broad assessment of American foreign relations and ongoing cost-cutting efforts under Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Official figures show these closures are projected to save approximately 4.4 million annually. That is $4.4 million annually, while main embassy's function will remain in Cameroon's capital of Yaoundé. Closing the Douala office removes a direct U.S. diplomatic presence from the country's primary economic and commercial hub. You go to page 3 there, you get the details. So the United States has decided to close some of its offices, but they have made it clear here in this paper that their activities will remain only in Yaoundé. Let us get now to the Daily Voice newspaper. The Daily Voice newspaper there. Let's get the main headline there. The Daily Voice newspaper. It says, War Zone Ambulance driving through flying bullets. War Zone Ambulance driving through flying bullets. On a dark night on the outskirts of Bamenda, a pickup truck blocked the road and armed men opened fire on an ambulance returning from a patient transfer. Dozens of bullets tore into the vehicle. A nurse in the back was hit twice. She reached for the door to jump out. The driver blocked it with his body and said 3 words, God is in control. Then he drove. That driver, Fogwe Jonas Ngwang, is the unit head of the Emergency Ambulance Regional Hospital Bamenda. He survived that night by faith, by nerve, and by a refusal to let one more person die on his watch. He tells the story the way men tell stories that should have ended differently, quietly, without drama, as if surviving AK-47 flying bullet is simply one of the occupational hazards of saving lives in a region that war has made nearly impossible to serve. He has only one medicalized ambulance and a number painted on its side, 677401212. If you want to get the details, you go to page 3 of the Voice newspaper. There you see the gentleman with the gentleman's image there. Menchum SDO in news 40 years after gas disaster. So you want to get the details, you know, it is 40 years after the gas disaster happened in the Northwest. We are bringing this paper because it is the end of week, and they have very sensitive information there. The prefect for Menchum Division, Abdullahi Aliu, has kick-started activities to commemorate the Lake Nyos gas disaster that claimed over 1,750 lives and wiped out birds and animals in 3 communities, August 1986. Mr. Abdullahi Aliu helicoptered to the lake and met curious onlookers. So it was a very sensitive ceremony there that they were commemorating 40 years after that gas disaster. At this time, dear viewers, let us get now to Cameroon Tribune. Cameroon Tribune. Let's just get to the top right hand there. It says Cameroon-Malawi, one step from history. The final of the 2026 Women African Cup of Nations scheduled for Sunday, August 16, 2026 in Rabat, pit 2 courageous and resilient teams, each hungry to lift the coveted trophy for the first time. You go to pages 26 and 27 of Cameroon Tribune, you get the details. You know, the finals will take place on Sunday at 8 p.m. Then let us now get to the right hand there, where we see 3rd Military Region, Adequency. Right hand below, you say Adequency Hillary commissioned. The new commander of the territorial unit of the Defense and Security Forces was installed into his new function yesterday, August 13, 2026 in Garoua by Minister Joseph Betty Asumo. He will have to strive for the preservation of peace in the area. Go to page 4, you get the details. It is the commander who is in charge of that territorial administration there in the 3 northern regions who took power. You know, he was appointed recently. Now let's look at sports. Cameroon versus Malawi in AFCON finals. Cameroon versus Malawi in AFCON finals.
At Royal TV, we are determined to accompany you in our entertainment, news, sports, debates, documentaries, and many more.
Lionesses' sensational hero and goalkeeper Mekai Kyria-Bihini saved 4 penalties, 1 during playtime, 3 during post-match penalties. So there you find the goalkeeper there during the penalties. But what is very sensitive there, it is the information that the paper carries. Let us just get the information before we get to the end of the program. It is very important. It talks about the indomitable Lionesses have defeated the Moroccan counterparts 3-1 on penalties after a goalless full-time and extra time in the second WAFCON semi-final at Moulay El Hussein Stadium in Rabat. The Atlas Lionesses came closest to securing a 3rd successive WAFCON final when Sakim Uzau won a penalty in the 118th minute, but Fatima Tagnu's efforts was saved by Cameroon's goalkeeper Mekai Bihini. Neither side had found a breakthrough during the opening 90 minutes, with Morocco controlling periods of possession but struggling to prevent their pressure into their chances against an organized Cameroonian defense. The deadlock continued through extra time before the contest moved to penalties, where Cameroon prevailed 3-1 to reach their 4th WAFCON final. The defeat ended Morocco's run of success in WAFCON semi-final shootouts. The hosts had won both of their previous semi-finals on penalties, defeating Nigeria in 2022 and Ghana in 2024, according to CAF. Morocco has reached this year's last 4 with a 2-1 quarterfinals victory over South Africa and had already secured qualification for the 2027 Women's World Cup in Brazil, their 2nd successive appearance at the tournament. Cameroon will face Malawi in the final after the Southern African side defeated Nigeria 3-1 in the other semi-final. But what is very important there, it is the information that is also there, that these Lionesses have not had their bonuses. So if you want to get it, you go and read detailedly. We are working with time here. So the last paper there, it is a Cameroon Insider, which still talks on that Lionesses roar into finals. Lionesses roar into finals. So if you want to get it, you also go to page 7 of the Cameroon Insider. You get the details, how the Lionesses roar into finals. We have been reading that a lot. It says government pushes for return to AGOA. You know, AGOA is an economic operation association. So government is trying to push that. Then there's CFA France 450 million to support student entrepreneur. You get the Cameroon Insider to get the details. At this time, dear viewers, we come to the end of the newspaper. The newspaper, we have read so much about it. So you go to the stands and get information about, detailed information about the headlines that we have given you. We sincerely thank you so very much. We pray that from next week we'll have so much time to give you to participate during the program. See you next week for another edition of the newspaper review.
Your direct line to